Today's lesson is about patterns, and we're actually looking at specific patterns called arithmetic sequences. And what that really means is just patterns that increase by the same amount each time. So their pattern is that they have the same distance or the same increase every time. A couple of things that you need to learn, just nomenclature, vocabulary, is that they're going to refer to our terms as A, with a little sub number depending on which term it is. So what that means is my first term, a sub 1, is the first term of this equation or of this sequence. So a sub 1 is 5, a sub 2 is 10, a3 is 15, and a4 is 20. So each one of my terms is just 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so to tell if a term or a pattern is called an arithmetic pattern, we just have to see if the difference is the same. So on number 1, when we look at it, each one of these is increasing from here to here is 5, from here to here is 5, and from these last two it's 5. So yes, it is an arithmetic sequence, and its distance is 5. Now in this second one, between the first ones are 1, between the second ones are 2, 3. It's an interesting pattern, but it's not arithmetic. So it's a no, because D, not the same. It's not the same every time. And then on our last one, we look, and they're changing by -7 each time. So yes, it is. And our constant, our distance, is -7. So let's just look at number 5. Number 5 says write the next 3 terms of an arithmetic sequence, and then it gives us a little information where our first term is 2, and our distance between terms is 5. So our first term is 2, and then our distance is 5. So 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 plus 5 is 12. That's our 3 terms. Let's do the next one. 12 plus 5 is 17. So we know that now that we know the distance, we can write our pattern as long as we feel like writing it. All right, so let's look at number 8. And the thing I want you to get really good at when you see a pattern is to first say, I need to label my terms. So I have a pattern here. They've given me the pattern. What I need to do is label that this is my first term, and this is my second term, my third term, fourth, and fifth. So I've labeled my terms, because every time we do a pattern, we're going to label our terms, because that gives us a table. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those are my terms, and then I can actually write my pattern down over here, which is 5, 8, 11, 14, and 17. Now you guys did process columns, 3 process column tables back in 8th grade, so this should be very simple. How much are my y's, or what's my distance? They're going up by 3 every time. So we're going to say 3 times our first term. So 3 times 1, does that equal the 5? Does that equal our y value? Well, it doesn't. So what do we need to add to 3 to get to 5? That's plus 2. Okay, so we think that's our process rule, our equation, our function. But let's test it. 3 times the second term is 6 plus 2 equals 8. So let's go ahead and just fill in the table. Okay, and after I fill in the table, so I now know what my equation or my formula for finding the nth term is. My formula is y equals 3x plus 2, or they may write it a sub n equals 3n plus 2. Either way, It's the equation that goes with this table. Okay, so now let's turn the page over. And we're going to practice. So we're going to take our terms. We got 4, 11, 8, and 5. And we're going to write, well, that's term number 1, term number 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to use the stat edit key to get my equation. So I'm going to put this in a table. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 14, 11, 8, and 5. And I'm going to put this data into stat edit, and I'm going to come out with my equation. So I'm going to stat edit, put it in, and then stat calculate, and 5, and I'm going to come out with my equation as y equals negative 3x plus 17. Now that I know my equation, in my calculator, I can put this guy into the y equals key, and it'll give me the table for every possible value of my sequence. So when I put that into the table, or into the y equals key and pull up my table, and scroll down to where my x is 50, I'm going to find out that my 50th term is negative 133. Okay, now pause the video and do number 10 on your own. Okay, check your answer. And then number 11, same thing, it's just a table. So pause the video, put your table into stat edit, and come up with the equation or the function that represents it, and then figure out the answer to C and D. Okay, and the final part of the notes is a spiral review. So go ahead and pause your video. What I want you to be able to do while you're pausing the video is to answer 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm going to have you do it on your own. I'm going to solve it. You can turn your video back on and just check your work and make sure that you got the correct answers. Okay, on the first one, I left it as fractions, but I did go ahead and simplify my fractions. So the 14 over 6 became 7 over 3, and the negative 3 6 became negative 1/2. Okay, pause it and do number 2. Okay, the biggest problem I saw in class on this was people getting the negative 3 times 8 in their distribution and not making it negative 24. Other than that, it was a straight distribute and combine, and that's the answer. Okay, pause it and do number 3. All right, on number 3, the biggest mistake people were making in class is forgetting that when you divide by a negative number, it means you're going to have to flip your inequality. So the answer to this is x is greater than negative 3. Okay, on number 4, let me give you a hint to get you started before we get moving on this. You're going to be using the equation y equals mx plus b. You're going to plug your y into the y value, your x into the x value, and your m into the m value. So you're going to plug those numbers in and solve for b, and then you can write your equation. So pause the video and come back and check your answer. Okay, when we solved, our b was negative 21, so our answer is y equals 3x minus 21.